My name's Wayne. I'm an alcoholic. Brad, thank you for asking me to speak. And especially thank you for asking me to speak about something I know nothing about. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, because that's the first thing I thought about when I thought about courage, the cowardly lion walked the yellow brick road in hopes of finding Oz so that he would give him courage. In our serenity prayer, we ask God to give us the courage to change the things we cannot change. The dictionary defines courage as the ability to do something that frightens us, or courage gives strength in the face of pain and grief. In the January 1962 edition of the Grapevine, Bill W. wrote, "We begin to see each adversity as a God-given opportunity to develop the kind of courage which is born of humility rather than bravado." As the doubter of prayer, as the doubter tries the process of prayer, he should begin to add up the results. If he persists, he will almost surely find more serenity, more tolerance, less fear, less anger. He will require a quiet courage. Years ago, my mother called me in the middle of the night and said my father was not doing well and she had called an ambulance. I rushed as fast as I could to their house, and I got there in time before the ambulance left. My father was already in the ambulance, and the ambulance driver asked if I would like to ride with the hospital to the hospital in the ambulance with my father. Because of my fear, because of my lack of courage and my fear of facing death, I said no. August 17th, 2012, my daughter Michelle, my granddaughter Julia, my grandson Jason, and Michelle's mother-in-law were driving out west on Highway 12 when a 21-year-old drunk crossed over the middle line and hit their van straight on, knocking them into the side road and throwing the van on its side. A gentleman that had been following their van jumped out of his car, came over, tried to open the door, couldn't open the door, smashed a window, and dragged my grandson Jason out of the car. He had courage. He went back to try to grab my granddaughter Julia out of the car, but by then the car had burst in flames, and he had no opportunity to do that. Julia was airlifted to Hennepin County Hospital, downtown Minneapolis, and my wife and I rushed down there. And when we got there, Julia had already died. And the nurse asked if we would like to go in and visit with Julia. Christy said yes, but because I had no courage and I had a fear of death, I said no. On June 28th, 2019, Christy was diagnosed with bile duct cancer. That's non-curable and non-operable. I left my office and became her primary caretaker. Over the next 15 months, she had no less than 50 operations and procedures. She had courage. She always said she was not afraid to die because she knew where she was going. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not panic. For the Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you." As Bill sees it, and as on page 68 of the Big Book, it says, we need not apologize for depending on our Creator. We have good reason to disbelieve those who think spirituality is a way of weakness. For us, it is a way of life and strength. Also, as Bill sees it on page 129 in the Big Book, page 68, it says, "The verdict of the ages is that men of faith seldom lack courage. They trust their God. We try to let him demonstrate through us what he can do." Also on page 68 of the Big Book, it says, "Just to the extent that we think he would have us humbly rely on him, does he enable us to match calamity with serenity." During those 15 months of Christy's life, the last 15 months of her life, every morning, the first thing that I would do is get down on my knees. Excuse me. I would ask God to help me to be the very best caretaker I could be that day for her. And that he'd give me the strength to do whatever she needed to have me do that day. And to be the most loving and caring husband that I could be. It was so painful to see her deteriorate so fast. Toward the end, I would set my alarm every 2 hours to give her medication because she was in such tremendous amount of pain. On October 7th, I gave her medication at 9 p.m. and had my alarm set for 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, I got up to go to the kitchen to get her medication, but I thought I'd stop in to see her first, and she had died. I got down on my knees and asked God to receive her into heaven. And I said, as I said before, she was always said that she was not afraid to die. She wanted to die at home, and she got her wish. Just over a month ago, my brother Jim was in hospice because of Parkinson's. I was alone him on this one Saturday. He was in a coma. He lay there very still with no movement. I was the only one visiting him there at that time. I prayed over him loud so he could hear. I kept praying, "Lord, keep Jim safe. Jesus, keep Jim safe." And all of a sudden he whispered, "I'm safe. I'm safe." I started saying the Lord's Prayer over Jim. As clear as could be, Jim joined me in saying the Lord's Prayer. When we finished, he reached up his left arm to grab my right arm. He pulled me down to him, and with his left arm, he hugged me. That was the last words and the last movement that he made. He died the next day. I thank God that he gave me the courage to be with Christy for those 15 months and for the time that I was able to spend with Jim. God did for me what I could not do for myself. Thanks.